able to figure out how to be an entrepreneur, how to be a business owner. And so one of my friends talked to me about real estate sales, and that's how I got into real estate sales in 2007, and then developed throughout the time. And we started the coaching mostly because when I sold my real estate brokerage a couple of years ago, I realized that the number one thing that I saw real estate agents struggle with was having consistency and predictability in their income. And frankly, I just think that's a shame. Like 87% of agents are going to fail in this business, and it doesn't have to be that way. And so that's why I wrote the book, Real Estate Evolution. That's why I got into coaching.
Gotcha. And Dan, let me stop you real quick. I started the recording a little bit late. I just wanted to introduce you for the Real podcast. Dan Rochon from Virginia, real estate coach. We were talking about how to get some personal development and mindset and help real estate agents. If you guys follow this podcast, you know how much I'm into mindset, and that's everything. If you don't have the mindset, you can't go beyond that. So again, welcome and thank you very much. What part of Virginia, what city are you in?
I'm in Clifton, Virginia. Clifton's it's a little pocket in Northern Virginia, right outside Washington, D.C., that is relatively rural. And it's surrounded with this hustle and bustle of Northern Virginia. So I say I've really got the best of both worlds, where I've got this pocket of tranquility within the, an island of tranquility within an opportunity of Northern Virginia and Washington, D.C.
Oh, that's awesome. So what brokerage did you run for 10 years out there?
I was a Keller Williams Realty franchise.
Gotcha. And that's what I wanted to point out, because a lot of people listening, they come from massive brokerages, Remax, Keller Williams, and, all over the place. And on this podcast, we talk about them all. So awesome. So, all right. So you sold your brokerage, got into coaching, and eventually wrote a book. So let's talk about what you've seen in the real estate agent community, owning a brokerage. I did too. I had 300 agents, 4 offices, and I saw a lot, man. I really went down that path, and I saw the most destructive thing ever was mindset. And then systems and procedures, and then consistency, of course. So let's start where you feel these listeners will get the biggest bang for the buck by listening to what we have to say.
Well, Mike, so you hit it right there. In those 3 areas that you just shared, I completely agree with you. I have the same experience of that consistency, of that persistence, when I'm looking at like what's the number one thing that defines a successful agent versus one that's not going to have success. Persistence, right? If you can have that in your DNA, if you can have that in your character, then everything else you can pretty much just figure out, right? I mean, I'm not saying it's going to be easy. What I'm going to say is if you don't have that persistence, it's going to be so significantly hard that it'll be near impossible for you to really make a run at it. And then you mentioned there as well, Mike, is the mindset. And so I believe that whether it's being the very best individual, the very best human being that you could possibly be, the best mother, the best husband, the best wife, or the best real estate agent, it all starts within yourself. And so if we can focus on how can I be the very best version of myself possible, then you're going to be able to get more out of life. You're going to be able to have more fun out of life. You're going to be able to get more out of real estate sales. Right. And so really that's the foundation of success. And not only is that my strong belief, it's also it's scientifically proven that that's the fact as well.
Yeah. How do we get agents to buy into this though, huh?
Well, look at the results, so, success leaves clues, and so does failure. And so I don't really necessarily like the words success and failure because I believe that those are perceptions.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? I think it's the words that are effective in communicating what I'm intending to do. So, meaning that really just outcomes leave clues. Okay. And so that outcome can have a perceived success. It can also have a perceived failure. And so when you look and you say, okay, who are the Mikes, right? Who are the ones in this business that were able to position themselves to have 300 agents, 4 offices, right? Because a lot of times we just sort of look at that like, well, that's Mike. He could do that because that's Mike, right? But the reality of it is Mike is no different than Dan, no different than Bob, no different than Sue, except for the fact that you, Mike, that you understand that you're going to approach life on your terms. You're going to approach life to be able to get the very best out of life as possible, and you're no different than Dan, myself, the waiter from 15, 20 years ago. I'm not very much different than that Dan from 15, 20 years ago. So I am the same person. I have different experience than then. Yet it's just sitting there saying, well, who are the ones that have been able to be successful? And then what did they believe? Who were they being? What did they do to be able to create the result that they were able to create?
Gotcha. What do you think some best practices are for agents, whether new, intermediate, or experienced? And sometimes we're in a rut, sometimes we need a boost, sometimes we just need to hear motivators and coaches just give them a little poke. So best practices, like, what do you think? Is it a routine? Is it a skill set, a mindset? Is it what path would you say an agent should go down daily to keep that persistence, consistency, and mindset straight?
Yeah, it's habits, right? So it's like we create our life through a series of habits. Like if you go to Dunkin' Donuts every single day of the week, you're going to be fat, right? That's just the reality of it, right? Now there's no judgment on that, just reality of it. Okay? It's like, what are you going to do on a day-to-day basis is going to create your outcome. It's going to create who you're going to be. So it's the habits, right? So now if you look and say, okay, well, give me something that I can like bite into. So when there's a thing called the self-coaching model, and I talk about it in my book, Real Estate Evolution, and the self-coaching model says that the programming leads to your thoughts, the thoughts lead to your feelings, feelings lead to your actions, actions lead to your results, and the results go back into your programming. That's a closed loop. Okay. So the challenge with that is that it's closed loop. Like it's hard to make that be something different. Right. So in other words, if I'm programming myself with things that are going to be disempowering, I'm watching the news every single day and I'm hearing all this stuff in the news that's going to make me feel bad. Right. So before I even feel about that, but it's going to make me have bad thoughts. Programming leads to the thoughts. And now I'm going to have those bad feelings. Most likely, then I'm going to take bad actions and then have bad results. And that's going to go back into the programming. So here's the hack. The hack to that is within the programming. It's sitting there saying, well, how can I surround myself with people that have the same mindset of who I want to be, right? What are they thinking? Who are they surrounding themselves with? What's their environment? When they're working, are they standing up? Do they have a bottle of water? Mike's got a bottle of water right there. You're drinking every so often, right?
Oh yeah.
Are they hydrating themselves? Okay. So like what's their physical environment? That's a way that you can impact the programming. You can impact the programming by the books that you read, the things that you listen to, the affirmations that you make. We all make affirmations. Are you going to control the affirmations that you make, or are you going to just, let it be whimsical, right? If you're going to stub your toe, are you going to be like, man, I'm stupid, right? Or are you going to stub your toe and be like, that sucks. I'm going to intend not to do that again. Right?
You and I think so alike. It's so funny. You keep using a lot of the words that I use. I say, if I stub my toe, what is my reaction? Whatever I stub my toe on, I'm going to move. That's just the way I feel. And you're right. And you did say something that's important, because mindset isn't controllable by yourself. It does require people around you. And that's what I love about the folks that listen to this podcast and are actually in this coaching group. We have some of the top leaders of the industry in the world, not just the United States, but Canada, Europe. Some of the realtors and coaches that are in this group are the most motivating, smart people that if you hang out with us, you can't possibly have a crappy mindset. So I like that when you create habits, because people that are watching this and listening to this, we've helped them create habits that are healthy, right? We have our perfect daily schedules. We have our weekly coaching. We have our daily huddles. We have our podcast for agent attraction and recruiting. We have so many tools that if an agent creates a habit and says, this is what I'm going to do every day and create my schedule and my life around these things, that mindset is always crisp, always clear. And I could point out to you 20 people in 5 minutes of people that started hanging out in Agent Mechanics coaching with us even since my brokerage days, that just followed a simple habit. Like my team leader, Larry, just follow what I say, follow the habits, and do what we're doing. And dude, watching people's lives explode is ridiculous. So I appreciate that we're aligned that way. And I can see how this book is unfolding already. So go on.
So when you're looking at who you're surrounding you with, the thoughts that you're thinking, there's also the affirmations that you're making. It's also, are you exercising? Are you, you can embrace meditation. You can embrace just quiet time, laughing. Hey, I'm having, the most cherished time that I have in my life is from noon to 1 p.m. every single day, having lunch with my 9-year-old daughter. She's almost 10, Maggie.
Adorable.
That's it, man. That's all I need, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like anything else, it's like that, but I make certain that time is on my schedule. And that's the most important time of my day for my relationship with her. And that doesn't mean that that's just a piece of the relationship, of course. Right. And so it's sitting there saying like, you mentioned something there, Mike, in regards to like the people that you're surrounding yourself with and the 20 people that you mentioned. Every once in a while, so here, I don't have a lot of bad habits. One of my bad habits I have is I'll smoke a cigar about once every 2 months. And I also, now I have a good habit of going to the gym. Well, back in, when you were able to go to the gym, like 5 or 6 times a week. So I remember the week that I had this aha, and I was sitting in a cigar bar with my buddy Frazier, and we're smoking a cigar, we're enjoying it. And I'm looking at the people in my environment, and they appeared to not be very healthy or very vibrant. The next day I go to the gym, okay, and I'm looking at this, I'm like, wow, not without judgment, I'm like, you know what? I'm in pretty good shape here, right? I go to the gym the next day, and I'm looking around the gym, I'm like, you know what? I'm just like barely average here, right? And so then I had that aha, like, well, geez. Like if I'm barely average in this environment in regards to my health and my physique, and I'm way above average in this environment, then which of those two environments am I going to choose? Which of those two environments are going to benefit me? Right? That doesn't mean I still enjoy smoking a cigar every once in a while, right? But I recognize it for what it is.
Right.
And that's all that is, right? And just sitting there saying, let me put myself in that environment that's going to.
That's so funny. I had that aha moment one day. I was in a dive bar, and I said, I'm way above where these guys are. So I went to a really classy bar, and I fit in better. It was amazing.
Back when I drank, I had the opposite of that. I was good in the dive bar. Classy bars, they'd throw me out, I had the opposite. So we're creating habits, and we obviously know some of those habits. Like I preach, my 7 F's. It's faith, family, friends, fitness, finance, future business, and fun. Right? It's pretty simple. So we try to create our daily schedules around healthy habits. And what kind of hacks do you have for mind talking yourself into being consistent with that? Yeah, you got to believe it. You have to believe whatever you're saying to yourself, you have to believe first, or at least have some sort of grain of belief within it that's within reach. If you sit there and say, hey, like here's an affirmation, I'm a millionaire, I'm a millionaire, I'm a millionaire. Great. That's an affirmation. But the reality of it is if you don't believe that, it's going to actually be counterproductive. Right. So it's about structuring yourself that you can position yourself so that it's within like a belief. Like I can believe that even if I'm not a millionaire today, I can believe that I am the person that can create a millionaire, or I'm the person that can create a 500 millionaire or a billionaire or whatever the case may be. Now that's money, right? So money's just a byproduct of creating value and providing value. It's not the end all be all. I mean, money is just like a brick, it's good for the, what you do with it. Like you could throw it through someone's, car, window, or you could build a house with it. Right. It's the same brick. And the same thing with money. It's like, you can do good with it, or you can, do bad with it. I remember when I was working at a restaurant years and years ago at a really high-end country club that, hosted the US Open, all that type of stuff. And taking a look at the members there, this was generational wealth. The first time I ever observed in my life that wealth is like a magnifier. right? So like the people, the members of that club are either the most generous, loving sweethearts in the world or the biggest jerks in the world.
Dude, I've proven that and seen that over and over.
Yeah.
And I wish I could remember who taught me that, because it wasn't too long ago when I had that aha moment. And it's kind of funny because those 7 F's I talk about, money doesn't come down until number 5, right?
Yeah.
So it's a pretty big thing to notice, but you're absolutely right. I've seen realtors that are super successful that get hooked on money for the wrong reasons and they destroy themselves. I've seen agents in this market, the best market we've had in the longest time, completely lose everything. And I've seen agents in the worst market ever with the right habits, the right affirmations, the right crowd become multimillionaires. When I went through that recession, it only went one way or another. There wasn't too much in between, man. And I learned
you either
lot.
went out or it was either a bouncing board, a bouncing board to huge success, or it put you out. And I think that's what we're going through right now too. Like we haven't actually, it hasn't played itself out yet. I think right now we're in a position though that if we're 2-3 years down the road from today, looking backwards, that we're going to see that we're in a time of transition in this moment.
Mm-hmm. Big time.
If you're looking at, for example, even the way that we're embracing technology, for example, 6 months ago, I didn't have very many listing appointments on Zoom. Today, because I'm still in real estate sales as well. Today, all my listing appointments almost are on Zoom. Okay. Now, I believe that that's where the market was going regardless. I just believe that the pandemic accelerated that.
Mm-hmm.
I think we would have 5 years from today, we would have been there anyways, where now the general public is adapting this technology and that's the direction we were going, but it accelerated it. I just literally this morning ordered a set for my deck outside of a table and a umbrella and everything, like outdoor furniture from Amazon, right? And this was an expensive purchase. This wasn't a cheap purchase, right? But it's like, you know what? Like that's just the way the world is today.
Yeah.
And I think more and more that's what we're embracing. And because of that, and because of other factors that are going on that are unknown for the next 6 months to a year and a half or so, today we are in a time of transition in this moment. And then looking back on it, we'll be able to recognize it much more so than I think we can even today.
About 6 months ago, right before this started, I did a live class, how to take listings over Zoom in Club Wealth Real Estate Group, right? Michael asked me, hey, will you teach a class on this? Because he knows I've been taking listings over the phone until GoToMeeting and GoToWebinar came out. Because I learned this back in 2008, 9, where I created a large property management company, and my clients were all over the world, but I still wanted to have a relationship with them. But I learned how efficient and effective it was, and that's why I'm at EXP today. Everything is light speed ahead, So, but I taught this class 6 months ago, and out of the 150 comments, 100 of them were you're lazy, you're not respectful, if you can't get off your butt to go to somebody's house, and at the time, it was kind of funny because I'm like, wait, these people are busy. They're having dinner. They have kids. They want to go to the movies. They would rather spend 20 minutes getting the facts and knowing why I'm the best realtor on the planet, signing everything digitally, having me come at my leisure tomorrow to pick up a key under their mat, and people went ballistic on me. 60 days later, they're begging me to teach this class. And then they're giving me this, oh my God, you're right. No wonder you can sell 200 homes a year with your team. No wonder. And I'm like, dude, look at where your mindset was at. Look how crazy you were. You're stuck back in Coldwell Banker days. Like, come on, man. Like, they created that company 100 years ago and you're doing the same thing today? Really? No, I mean, it was just mind-blowing to me. And
it's about pivoting against it's like you and I got started around the same time in real estate sales. I was at the end of 2007.
I was 91, bro.
Oh, yeah. What I said was 1991. We got same day. I was thinking about the time I graduated high school.
I hate you. I was 90. Well, I did graduate in 90. But,
so excuse me for my misperception. So in 2007, 2008, it was the short sales.
Oh,
Okay. And I remember back then it was the same type of deal. The agents that were licensed in the early 2000s and they were riding that wave up, they looked at me like I was a scoundrel.
yeah. Right.
Okay. They were like, you're doing something bad for our business. And I'm looking at them like, you're
Mm-hmm. No, that's true. That's very true.
thinking, like that was my rear
Yeah.
inside voice coming outside by, calling them stupid there. Right.
No,
But
and on this podcast, you can say stuff like that. But
hey, all right,
literally,
man, I'm getting wild today.
in 1996, it was a short time after the earthquake in Los Angeles. I started pioneering REOs with some of the local banks, and I started pioneering short sales. It happened originally because of the earthquake, and people lost equity overnight. So we had to figure out this way to make the insurance company work with the banks. And the agents would say, "Holy moly, what are you doing? That is crazy. You're like ripping off the industry." But the reality was the banks were thanking me because they're like, we don't want a vacant home for years. We don't want to fix this home. And then it became the normal, right? So, and then, from 2000 to 2005, all these agents got in the business because they didn't know. I mean, it was just a good market. I'm going to get in real estate and be rich. And then in 2005, I sold more homes than anybody, right? So I got to see and hear and feel things before anybody else. So in 2005, I'd put my first short sale on the market, and it happened again. I was like, oh, here we go, whatever. I didn't care, right? I just kept going forward. And then I did 500 short sales in a matter of 2.5 years. And people were like, oh, will you teach me how to do this? Because they fought it for all this time. Then I was like, no, screw you. I'm going into property management. I need to diversify, right? I'm making it through this recession. So I started doing that. And then I got done with that. I grew that up to a couple hundred properties. And I'm like, well, now it's time to get back into REO. So I dove into REO, and people again called me unethical. And it's just one of those things. Let's get back into positivity, right? So we're going to do the things that are going to make a difference in our life. We're going to create good habits. We're going to create consistency. We're going to hang out with the right people. Oh, now what's next?
Take action.
Take
action and take massive action. So, when I'm talking to agents, the reality of it is that we all have to do something to get business. It could be prospecting asset managers for an REOs. It could be short sales. It could be anything that we just discussed, right? It can also be networking. It can also be cold con. It could be prospecting expired listing for sale by owners. You guys all know what to do, right? Here's the thing. You don't have to do all of it. You just have to do 1 or 2 or 3 of it. And in fact, I suggest really not even really more than 3. 3 is a good number.
That's my number 2, man.
Yeah,
we have the exact
number because if one falls out, you're still safe. I remember the day back when I had REO accounts. I remember I was at a resort in Pennsylvania, and I got a phone call one day from the guy that was my primary asset manager in Dallas, Texas, that we had all of our business through. And he called me, and he was in tears. And he said, Dan, I just got fired. And my knees buckled. My first thing was, holy crap, like, dude, I'm so sorry. And then, holy crap, I just lost half my business.
I just got fired too. Yeah.
Right. Right. It was a second thought, right? But I was safe at the time because I had other primary sources of business, right? So anyway, so you go back, what's next? Take action, take massive action. If you don't have 3, that's okay. Get to 1 first, and then build to 2, and then build to 3 pillars of business, and take it for what you love to do. If you dread getting on the phone right now and calling expired, don't do it. But you better damn well think that you may want to do an open house, right? Like, figure out what it is that you are going to become a king or a queen at, and then do it on steroids, right? So if it is open houses, for me, I'm going to sit there and say, do 6 open houses a week.
Right.
If you think that you did 6 open houses a week, do you think that you could possibly not do business? I mean, it's just figure out what is going to be your sweet spot that you love to do, and then freaking rock it out of the park.
Dude, you have no idea. This podcast was not supposed to go this way, but this is crucial. And if you guys listen to my podcast, go back a couple of years. I think it's like getting ready and organized for 2017, or it might have been 2018. And part of that podcast we talk about was my biggest secret to success that I didn't know about, right? I picked 3 things at all times, not more than 3. because if you dabble in something, you're never going to be good at it, right? So back in the day, I was expireds, I was for sale by owners, and I was open houses. I did the best open house. As a matter of fact, go back and listen to part 1 and 2 open house training on this podcast. It'll change your career. Then nobody would go after expireds anymore because they know I got them all. They would not want to compete with me. I was so damn good at expireds. Same thing with for sale by owners. Then fast forward 10 years, technology changes. What do I turn to? I pick 3 things again. Social media, because you can do it from your underwear. Property management.
I'm in my underwear right now, by the way, Mike.
And normally I'm in my bathing suit. I'm trying to go to the pool, man. You got me in the middle of my day off. But then I did property management because it was residual passive. People paid me to be in their database, and my sales exploded because of it. And the third thing was community outreach, because I could support all that stuff by having a big name in the community, being super huge in charity, being super huge in committees and all that stuff. And I really enjoyed prospecting at night at a nice place with a drink in my hand, around good friends. And my business, no matter what I've ever done, has excelled tremendously because I focus on 3 things. I don't dabble in 10 freaking things. I can't do it. My mind, my ADD, I'll pick 3 things. But if I only pick 1, you're right. I could lose it. When I was a short sale person, I could lose it. Like you already said, REO, I could lose it. Property management, I can't lose that. And that's one of the reasons I picked it. But the reality is markets change, things change. So you always have to have a technology piece, a relationship piece, and a passive piece, right?
I love that. Yeah.
And that's why I'm at EXP. Now I have 2 companies that make me hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands a year. That's passive, literally sitting in my pool shoes, ready to go out back, right? And people need to freaking figure this out. So when you say take massive action, and there's a guy on my team watching this right now, and I'm so freaking glad he's watching this because he has what it takes. And he jumped on 5 minutes late because we were talking about when you're doing your affirmations and you're trying to talk yourself into stuff and saying, I am the best realtor on this planet, but you damn well better believe it. Because if you don't believe it, you're just bullshitting yourself. And that's not going to get you anywhere. So you know who you are listening. You got to go back and hear this because you can hear another coach telling you it. It's the same thing, because this person's going to be a millionaire as soon as we figure out these key couple of little points, right? So, all right. So now we're taking massive action. So we have this whole thing. Now it seems like we're boiling down to systems and procedures at some point here, or some sort of organization.
Yeah. So the reality of it is that very few real estate agents get into real estate sales for the business opportunity. Many people get into real estate sales because they see it as easy money. They see it as an opportunity for freedom and for money. They don't necessarily look at it as this is a business opportunity. When you transition from this is a sales opportunity, this is a business opportunity, then you're able to then transition from I'm just going to wing it to I'm going to follow systems. Now, you may or may not have the systems to plug into. So then you have to either figure out how am I going to plug into those systems or how am I going to create those systems? So you really have 3 choices. I'm going to plug into it, I'm going to create it, or I'm going to say screw it and I'm going to wing it. Those are your three decisions there. When you plug into the systems or create them, then you're going to be able to create a predictable outcome. All right. I was talking with my sales team earlier today, and we were talking about having we have 17 conversations that we have with a buyer before step 1, before we even get in a car with them. We don't do that anymore, right? But before we even show them the first home, 17 conversations that we have with them. One of those 17 conversations is talking about what could possibly happen 4 or 5 days before closing, even for a great, well-qualified buyer such as yourself with a fantastic job, that maybe 3, 4, 5 days before closing, the underwriter can come back and ask for all kinds of craziness. We have that conversation with them up front. We do so because if that occurs, then when it occurs, and we've already discussed it 30, 45 days ago, then the buyers are like, wow, this guy's a professional. He knows what he's doing. Now, you don't have that conversation up front, and the same thing happens, guess what? They're looking at you like you're a freaking idiot. Like seriously? Like Dan doesn't know what he's doing. Like, how's this all happening? Nothing different happens other than you pre-paved, you pre-framed the very possible likely outcome. And there's there's many outcomes that you can come across. And I go through that in the book as well. As I say, in Real Estate Evolution, here is how you could pre-frame a conversation of something that's likely going to happen in the future, so that when it does happen in 1/3 of your transactions, you look like an all-star. Right. Rather than, somebody that doesn't know what they're doing.
Dude, let me stop you there, because this is really important, and I want the listeners to truly understand this. So I am a very well-seasoned real estate agent, right? But I do residential. I've never done commercial in my life, right? So I'm in escrow right now buying a beach house that is zoned commercial, and I'm getting an SBA loan. Awesome rate, 10% down, like the most killer loan you could possibly get. So I jump into this. I write a 45-day escrow. I have a new lender who I don't know. I have new people that I've never worked with before. But I am now beyond 45. Now I'm 60 days into this. The bank is asking for so much stuff. We've given it to them 12 times. This is our second bank, actually, because the first one denied us because we packaged it wrong, because the lender was a freaking moron. So this person, these lenders will never have a chance to do business with me again. They didn't prep me. They didn't tell me what to do. As a matter of fact, I'll punch them in the head if I see them in person. So now we're in the second lender, right? And I'm like, dude, these guys are a little better, but not much. But I've already been pre-warned and framed by the first morons. But now their bank works a little differently. If they would have sat me down in the beginning and said, expect this, we're going to need this, it's all normal. This is how the loan is structured. Because SBA is crazy, all these different loans. There's 7As and 504. I'm like, whoa, dude, I'm a residential normal guy. I don't know this stuff. If all they did was set me up for success in the beginning, I'd love them. I'd have everything ready, and this would be smooth and successful. But what they do, they're so busy and they don't have systems. And now these second people are never going to get a chance to do business with me. It's not only that, this bank is not going to have a chance to ever have my business. And we have millions of dollars in trust accounts with our property management company that they're dying for, right? Like, no, these guys aren't going to get crap except a crappy Yelp review if I could find some sort of, and I don't do Yelp reviews. That's how mad I am. So if you're listening to this, just remember, pre-set up these people, because they don't know. They haven't been going through this before. So that's just a good point. And I know it's a very small part of what you're trying to talk about, but that's really personal to me because I'm going through it. And all these people are screwed from here on out. So go on.
Like, not only because you sat there and you said, not only because they're not having that conversation with you because they're so busy, right? That's a chicken and egg, right? If they have the conversation with you up front, how much more efficient would they be?
Mm-hmm.
And then they're going to be less busy, or at least they're going to be able to do more production, right? Either way, they're going to be more efficient. So just how long did that take me to go through that with you? Like, I don't know, a minute, if that,
yeah.
60 seconds. Well,
maybe.
how many hours of time did that save me in the transaction 45, 60 days from now? And how much of that saved the relationship of a great client that's going to end up referring tons and tons of business to us because we took great care of them, right? And you just it's literally 60 seconds up front to do that.
You betcha. So in your book, does it talk about policies, procedures, systems, that kind of stuff, as far as, that'll help you be able to do more business?
Oh, sure.
Like, I have agents right now that I work with one-on-one all over the nation. They get up to this weird number, about 2 or 3 escrows. Let's say they're doing 30 to 40 deals a year. They're too busy to talk. They're too busy to take time off. They're too busy. And I'm like, look, do you realize that I'm rolling 20, 25 escrows at all times, you shithead? If you would just listen to me and take some of this, some of these systems that we can offer you, you could literally go to 50 to, that's my specialty. And I haven't told you that. My specialty is taking people from 50 to 100, 150 transactions by building a team and putting a few systems in place. It's not a big deal, right? And these agents fight me. Well, you don't understand what my life is like. Are you kidding me? It's like so stupid. So tell me, in Real Estate Evolution, it's got something for that.
Yeah. So real estate evolution is 10 steps to CPI. CPI is consistent, predictable income. And so the first step of that is the personal development, right? Then after the personal development, it's the lead generation, lead conversion. Now we're getting to the point of having those systems of, okay, what do I actually do to be able to have predictable results? And then where you're sort of fast forwarding to is, how do I get from 2 or 3 transactions a month, or how do I get from inconsistent transactions in March, and then my next closings in June, and then my next closings in August? How do I break the cycle of that inconsistency? So for new agents, it teaches them, here's the right way to do business so that you can stay in the business. For seasoned agents, it helps them to understand how to, maybe you just had the best closing of your month, of your life, the best closing month of your life. How do you replicate that so that you have consistent closings, 2 to 3 to 5 to 6 to 10 a month, every single month for the rest of your career? And then for the mega agents, how can you participate in the life that you're creating? Because you could be working 18 hours a day and making a ton of money, and you don't have a chance to sit there and even take a look at your kid's soccer game, right? Like, seriously, is that what you want to create? All right. So there's ways that you could close, 200, 400, 500 transactions a year and do so in a 40-hour work week. Mm-hmm. But you have to be able to you're not going to go from 20 to 500. You can go from 20 to 50, from 50 to 100, 100 to 150, 150 to 250. And there's different things that you have to do, because it starts with the lead generation. And then on top of the lead generation, it goes to organization building. And then on top of organization building, it goes to leadership. Most agents get stuck on that organization part, where it's like, well, how do I afford that? So I show you in the book, here's how you afford it. Go hire a virtual assistant. I have 15 virtual assistants that I work with. Okay. They take care of every single thing that I would possibly have to take, except for the things that make money, which is go out and lead generate, to convert the leads, to go on appointments, scripts and role play, and to negotiate. Those are the things that I do, because that's where I make the money. By the way, those 15 assistants that I have, I'm in Northern Virginia, right outside Washington, D.C. The wages for them is less than 2 assistants if they were sitting side by side with me in my office locally. Mm-hmm. The quality that I get as a return is better than anybody that's ever sat side by side with me in an office. Better, by far, right? Like, by far. Now it's managed, right? It just doesn't happen. You can't just go out and say, I'm going to hire a virtual assistant and it's going to work, because it probably won't. But you have to be able to know how to hire the right virtual assistant, and then know how to be able to lead them in a manner that produces results. And that's active management until you can replace yourself as that active manager.
Dude, I got a girl named Barbie in the Philippines. We've had her for about a year. Not only does she work graveyard with like a, I want to say 3 or 4-year-old daughter. She gets on Zoom. She's adorable. She works graveyard for $1,500 a month, and she does the job of 3 of my old assistants. Like, she's amazing. And like, and she's so appreciative. I don't want to get into debate on a made in America and all that crap, because God sees no borders, and neither do I. But it's amazing what you're talking about, where that can go. All right, so we got like 5 more minutes. Let's wrap this up, put a bow on it. I want to talk about where people can get your book and what they can do with whatever comes from the book, whatever the path that leads to, or whatever the upsell, if you will, is, or wherever you're going with your path. We want to help you, Dan.
www.therealestateevolution.com. We also have a coaching group on Facebook, CPI Community, which is consistent, predictable income. And so readers of the book are, we've got a lot of programs to be able to help people. We've got a live coaching, a 6-week CPI seminar to be able to get to that consistent, predictable income. We have the coaching programs, et cetera. So you can find all that on the website, www.therealestateevolution.com. But really, what I think that I really want to mostly for your listeners and your viewers to really get is that whether if they And it is a step-by-step guide, right? It will take you literally step-by-step throughout the process. But whether if you follow this process or another process, figure out what works for you and then implement it at a high level, right? But don't just wing it, right? Do not just wing it, because if you wing it, what's going to happen is a lot of heartache, a lot of headache, and a lot of bumping your head up against that ground. And understand that it's not just about how do I have a lot of massive amount of sales? How do I create the life worth living? For me, this is a vehicle for that life worth living. Right? I've been very blessed in my career that I've had a lot of fantastic things that I've been able to achieve through this. Now I understand that I'm the one that's created those. I get that, right? Yet there's been a lot of people that have poured into me that have helped me to be able to have a clarity on what to do next. And I've screwed up plenty of times, right? So it doesn't mean that I've always gotten it right. But I have been doing this for a long enough time, and I've documented every single thing that I've done step by step, that I know that when I follow this plan, when I follow this proprietary process of CPI, I know what the outcome is going to be. That's what I would share with you, Mike, and your listeners and viewers.
Dude, that's fantastic. We've touched on so many amazing points, and our coaching style is super aligned. I'd love to have you as a future guest, and we can kind of, peel back the curtain on this a little bit more and maybe dive into some of these, because it's very rare that we share the exact same coaching style. So that's interesting. Cool, man. Well, I thank you for being on here, and those of you that get the book, and I'd love to hear your feedback, and they can get the book just straight on the website. Is that what I understand?
They can also Amazon, Audible, all the usual places as well. But the website will be the easiest and quickest way.
All right, cool. We'd love for you to be a contributor to our coaching website, the one that's the Facebook group, the Agent Mechanics Coaching with Mike Bjorkman. And many people are pretty aware that I don't necessarily coach for money anymore. I coach our EXP organization for free when they're in our organization. So some people are not at EXP and they are looking for a consistent payable coach. So that could be a great option for them. And I look forward to working with you in the near future, Dan. And thank you so much for pouring out your knowledge today on a Friday. All right, dude, I'm going to go to the pool. You go. You go to whatever you're doing and back east, and it's probably dinner time for you, but those of you watching live, thank you very much. And for those of you listening to the podcast, thank you so much, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care, brother. Be good.